And welcome back to Fresh Outlook. I'm TWB. We've been discussing the fiscal cliff, the looming fiscal cliff here in the United States. But if you look over across the pond over into Europe, they're having some problems of their own. And there's protests, strikes in terms of austerity measures. Take a look.
Riot police and tear gas, strikes, marches, and sit-ins. These are a common sight across the EU. So far, protests against spending cuts and tax hikes have had little effect. Yet workers and the unemployed demonstrate in Spain and Portugal, in Italy, Greece, Britain, and Belgium. But are their voices being heard?
This has been a process like for the past 50 years in which this European economy has gone bankrupt. So this is going to be like one drop in the ocean. So we need many drops of water, and this is just another example. So we need to do it like every day, like they've been doing it in Iceland.
In Italy and Spain, protests are met with tear gas. Union leaders have spoken of a social emergency in southern European countries. The chief of the EU Employers Federation says the strike would cost billions and hurt Europe's ability to attract investors.
Well, social emergency, buzzwords there.
Yeah.
When you look at the Occupy Wall Street movement, it looks tame compared to what we just saw in that piece.
Well,
Francesca?
I mean, when you're talking about 50% youth unemployment in Greece, you're talking about a general unemployment rate at 25% in Spain and Greece and Italy, places in Europe. It's troubling. I mean, we have an 8% unemployment rate here in the United States, and we're frustrated. You can only imagine. Greece did have some good news this week in terms of being able to, get more bailout loans so they can continue through the next couple of years. But the reality is they're needing to figure out what a better plan is going forward. Most Greeks have small businesses. A lot of their economy is basically, it's not unlike our economy. It's based on small businesses. And the question is are we going to end up getting into the same kind of trouble that they are right now with the kind of protests and with the kind of sort of uproar, the social uproar that you have? You can have the International Monetary Fund come in, you can have the European Central Bank come in, and they've continued to try and work out and hammer out these things. But Greece could go back to using the drachma, withdraw from the EU. A lot of economic experts say that they should only have 12 or 13 countries in the EU to begin with, not the 17 that they have right now, that they sort of overstepped their bounds to begin with when they were trying to come in and include everyone, and that in so doing they didn't properly really vet the countries that were going to be up to the task.
But like you said, are we, in terms of our country, is that what's ahead for us in terms of that social crisis, protests, I mean, dare I say it, tear gas? I mean, is that our future, Bill? What do you think?
Well, I spent a lot of time in Wales over the last few years and England, and I've got a variety of colleagues from Europe, and we talk about this, and my sense is, Americans, we can get lathered up about issues, but I don't think our economic situation is at that point where the level of austerity we would see what we're experiencing, what we're seeing in Europe. But then too, the culture of unions, of protesting, right? That really is at one level, dare I say, it's not really in my lifetime is a part of our American DNA.
Well, I think it very much used to be. I mean, my grandfather was part of the union, and he would stand in front of the Mack truck when the scab workers would come into the factory, and he was there for 44 years. I think that the problem with the unions in America is very simple. Organized labor has been around to protect the worker, to get a better wage, and to protect their health benefits. You saw all the folks that were out there taking care of Sandy repairs when all of the tree limbs were down, and they're literally hanging from the Verrazano Bridge trying to make sure that it's correct and that the trees are okay. That's why a union exists, and so those people have health benefits and they're able to get a regular wage. The reason why, for example, the Jersey Tunnel didn't go through and Chris Christie forfeited all the money that he had allocated from the federal government to build a third tunnel, in addition to the Lincoln and the Holland, is because it was too expensive. So the workers that you would have to pay would have to be union workers, and so it's too expensive. That's why America farms out its labor to all these other places, whether it's China or Malaysia, and that's, I think, what we have to reconcile at a more fundamental level, is how to, here in this country, in order to avoid 25% unemployment or 50% youth unemployment that you see in Europe or whatever, is to try and see if we can't go back to what we used to know, which is how to manufacture and how to earn a living wage and a decent wage, but not to do it in such a way that, you know, the people's pocketbooks are evaporated just because we're paying them so little because it's finally affordable to use American labor.
I have a
With
general-
all
I have a
this
general
fiscal
question
cliff,
for the- I have a
unemployment
general-
gets worse.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Don't apologize. Go ahead.
I have a general question for the panel. The severity of the responses in European countries, how much of that is an outgrowth of the European Union model?
Well, you know, granted, I mean, there's a long-standing philosophy about the importance of the if you will, the welfare state or of Social Security of entitlements, and you know, yes, and not only entitlements, but also
Would you say that actually
also the importance of public sector workers?
Yes.
I mean, and in one level, you know, those countries and our country, you know, we've lived beyond our means, and right now we're basically, you know, that old Fram welfare commercial from the 1970s. You can pay me now, you can pay me later, and so the issue is, in my mind, right, is, you know, yes, we need to be still committed to a capitalistic, you know, sort of oriented economy, but what does the social safety net look like? Are we going to continue to move to this, what I've been writing about lately, called an a la carte society, right? That instead of there's being a menu of options.
You get a job but no health insurance.
Right, and then you have, and the only way you get health insurance or you're able to put your kid in a good school is you have to have those resources. So linking back to our previous conversation, I think actually what's going on in Europe can actually also serve as another constraint to these members in Congress and our president, just saying, again, we have to get to yes here.
Right.
You mean to the dangers of that sort of thing happening on our streets?
Right.
Do you really think so?
or-
Do you think that we
Right, when it gets to that level-
consider ourselves as entitled
All
as
I know
those
is
European
that,
demonstrators
no,
do?
people in Spain
Some
are
people do.
jumping off of their balconies of their houses and committing suicide because they're facing eviction from their homes because of bank foreclosure rates. That's the kind of thing that we don't
And
want
they-
to have
but
happen.
that sounds
If we
like
go to that
balconies
cliff-
for
Yeah, but
foreclosure.
let me-
What is
we
that?
got,
That
we
sounds
gotta
like
go.
systemic
To be continued.
instability.
We got to go to commercial break to be continued. Sorry to break this up. When we come back, we'll finally be talking about Obamacare, the realities and its plans. That's next on Fresh Outlook.